some people during Halloween, they were giving out they used to have these candies. They were like, it was kind of like somebody had tried, they were orange and black. It was just wrapped up, and it was barely wrapped up. Some of the candy was kind of leaking out the back end, Some of the candy had a little bit of side boob, kind of, a little brown kind of side boob popping out of the wrapping. These little candies, they came in little wrappers, little blankets, little duffel bags for candies, wrappers. And they would give you these, and it was chewy, it was chunk. You didn't even, it was the unknown candy. It was like the tomb of the unknown diabetes. It was just a chunk of, you were like, oh, is this chocolate? Is it caramel? Is it apple? And you would just eat it. And by the time you even kind of maybe had an idea what it was.
GM, Chrysler, Toyota. Tell me who's a bigger mafia. Who is a bigger mafia? You go take their lunch? Yeah. Are you kidding me? This guy took their lunch. Yeah. This is no joke. This is not an easy industry to take their lunch. You're talking about that guy. He didn't say, let me create a new website called Facebook and let's go create something new. He said, what does everybody use? A car. Let me go make cars. What? And beat everybody. That's hard. This is not hard. That's hard.
Every single place that he put me, every bit of suffering, now when I speak on authority,
you
right?
Praise it.
Yeah, I'm like, you are just so smart, God. You're a genius. Oh, I hate to say it's so patronizing to you, but you know it. And now when I can't make sense of things that are happening,
Can you tell me, how does your gift work? I'd like to start there.
Okay.
Because I don't know that it works how people think it does.
Well, it's interesting because everybody thinks mediums and psychics have the same function, like that we do it in the same way. And
I didn't know there was a difference.
There is a difference. I became friends with John Edward, who had the show Crossing Over.
Okay, yeah.
We were on Oprah together years ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know he didn't have sight. I just assumed all mediums could see the other side. And so some mediums can only see it, but they can't hear it. Some can hear it and can't see it. Some can do all of that, which is what I do.
Okay.
And so when I bring them through...
And wait, is that different than a psychic?
Okay.
Or
psychics predict future events and they can tap into energy. Okay. Mediums talk to the dead.
Okay.
So just to give the difference, and most mediums are psychic as well, and most psychics are not mediums.
But let's just review a couple of the things that Donald Trump has said in this campaign and that those around him have said about what he will do. Expanding presidential power by bringing independent agencies like the Fed directly under the thumb of the president, using the Department of Justice to prosecute his enemies, and ensuring that no one within the executive branch will stand in his way, that there will be no one there to object. Voters, in giving Trump a second term, you can argue, have endorsed a fundamentally different vision of the presidency and democracy itself.
Yeah, you can argue that. I mean, I think I'm like wrestling here because I think there's also a simple story here too. Like, inflation is high. The administration is unpopular. And throughout the world, the developed world, we've been seeing incumbent governments lose because of basically those two reasons. And so I don't think...
Do you guys know how many people the average person meets in their lifetime?
250,000.
So according to my completely unverified statistics, the average person will meet about 80,000 people in a lifetime. Not just like walking by, but I'm meeting you. I'm interacting with you at the cash register, at the bank.
And out of all these people...
We found each other. I was like really shocked at first because I thought, okay, 80,000 people, maybe that's a lot of people. But when you do the math, that's only like 0.0001% of the population compared to 8 billion people. 80,000 people doesn't seem like a lot now, does it? Now think about this, okay? 5 million.
You're killing the dog here.
5 million people. That is the amount of followers that an infamous Japanese model, Yukina Kinoshita, managed to lose with her now infamous apology video. deal. That's like 4% of Japan's entire population. Poof, gone overnight.
Why shouldn't my wife have the same firearm at home that your bodyguards use to protect you? Is that fair or is that unfair? Why is
That's
it unfair?
a ridiculous argument.
But why?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Why is it because you're more important than me? I'm merely saying that you have better protection than I do. And you're saying that my family doesn't deserve to have a certain species of weapon. You get to decide what we can protect ourselves with, but you're not going to in any way take the ability to protect you away from the Capitol Hill Police.
I'm saying that every police officer in America today is outgunned. For their safety and for the safety of the people they protect, we shouldn't have assault weapons.
Right. You just don't want to apply the rules to yourself. I get it. I wouldn't either.
You were rushing. You got into your sorority. Can you tell me do you remember your chants?
Do I remember my chance? Okay. I thought you would never ask. So, interesting enough, so I went to the home chapter. Delta Gamma was founded at the University of Mississippi. It was a big deal that they let a woman not from Mississippi into the sorority. I don't know who wrote me a rec, but they saw my ass coming and they said, she's got potential.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was funny during Rush. So we used to do this thing called a door song. Okay. And you might have seen it on Bama TikTok. Now they banned it. But so somebody comes and knocks on the door. Okay. The door opens and 200 girls hit the deck. I was always on the bottom because I was beefy. So I'd be on the bottom of this door holding up the weight of my sorority sisters on me. And we'd be like, D-E-L-T-A, Delta D-E-L-T-A. And do this whole thing. And then what would happen is everybody would get off the dog pile and run out and grab a girl who's rushing. Okay. So you're running through the lawn being like, Emily, where are...
What do you think the final nail in the coffin will be?
If Trump wins again.
That'll be the end.
Yes, because they'll do the same thing they did the first time. Everything will be negative. He will be the devil incarnate. They will find their oppositional, media roots again, which they totally forgot during the Biden years. Hello? We have a whole White House press corps that didn't figure out he was being visited regularly by a Parkinson's doctor. Do you think they'd miss that with Trump? My point is they had no interest in finding out anything bad about Joe Biden. So I do think they'll just drive more people away. But they're already dying. Their ratings right now in primetime, they're pulling in 500,000. I mean, I know you dwarf that in your numbers, and I certainly do as well. Now they get maybe 1/4 of what they used to get. They make no news. They're totally irrelevant. What was the last news Savannah Guthrie made?
I have no idea.
Of course you don't. What was the last news big interview Robin Roberts had? Who knows?
I don't ever watch it.
Who has more influence, Wolf Blitzer or Ben Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro.
It's just a new world. They're well on their way to the end.
But if it wasn't for you buying that and changing Twitter, I don't think we would be where we're at right now. I think it was a pivotal moment. I think historically, when people look back on it, it's going to be a pivotal moment in this very bizarre fight for the freedom of information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time I said, I think, look, I think this is existential to the United States. It's existential to democracy, because if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have democracy. Okay, because if you don't have freedom of speech, people cannot make an informed vote. If they're just being fed propaganda, and there's no freedom of speech, democracy is an illusion. So freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. That's why freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Once you lose freedom of speech, you lose democracy.